What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to episode number 266 of the VK Bros with Jason and Alex Von Cannell, broadcasting not so live on Saturday morning, the 6th of September 2025. How are you going this week, Alex?
Yeah, good. I had a very busy and productive week this week. I am repping my merch for the upcoming Bitcoin Poker Tour game, which is happening on the 20th of this month.
Nice.
If anyone in Brisbane or Gold Coast is keen to come and play, I have called it, and it's the name. I don't know if you noticed the name.
I did
was
notice.
a bit of a signal to what we'll be talking about today. So the name of the event is called the Let Them All In Poker Event, where we up the ante so we can build our stacks.
Yeah, that was very clever. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and it was funny in the lead up to it because when Nugget does the names, he punches into AI, lets AI sort of come up with, and I literally sat there. I used AI, Alex Intelligence, but I was sitting in front of the TV like an idiot. Like my brain was off, my face was off. I was just like, how do I think of a name? How do I play with this? How do I play with that? And then that's what I came up with, and I'm pretty proud of it.
That's what I have to do every weekend when I think of the show titles and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. But if anyone is keen, it is. I mean, Jason's been to a bunch of them. It's fun.
It's so much fun. It's a good crew of people. It's a good event. There's no like super serious players there either. So like if you're a rookie at poker like I am, you'll enjoy yourself and you'll actually have an opportunity to win too.
Yeah.
And I'll be there. So if you want to come and see the VK Bros, hit Alex up and we'll give you the details.
Yeah. Do you want to do a quick description of the things that we'll talk about? And then
So obviously this is the week after the March for Australia, which happened last weekend, which we'll be discussing. Just a bit of an update too on one of the other stories from last week. Desi Freeman is still at large currently. And just, we're not going to get into that story too much because there's not really been that many updates during the week. But the one thing that I will say is this. Do you feel any community anxiety at all about the fact he's still at large?
Nah.
So normally when a gunman is at large, people are like, oh shit, like where is he? That's concern. Yeah. That's scary. Not feeling that at all. Now look, we don't live in Victoria, so maybe that's why. Maybe on the ground people are a little bit more scared about it. But there's still a lot about that story that doesn't smell right. So I'm sure we'll get some updates leading in. But can I start the show off with something a bit unprompted?
Sure.
It's a bit of a philosophical thing because we posted up a couple of reels last weekend and early in the week about the march and the lead up to, and also about the government reaction to the march afterwards. And firstly, I just want to say shout out to everyone who viewed, liked, commented, shared those reels. I actually got a lot more engagement than I thought it would. And we picked up some new followers. So if any of you have then followed the Instagram page and then come to the show, welcome. Glad to have you. Please subscribe. Please like. Please comment. It really helps the channel. But there's a lot of people sharing the sentiments from those reels online. But someone did ask me a question, which is like, because a lot of people were saying, you can't fix this through voting. What do we actually do about it? Now, to that, I'll say two things. Number one, at the moment, the Queensland LNP government is proof that voting does actually change things. So I'm not saying that the Liberal or LNP governments in the other states are anywhere near the level as what we're getting up here in Queensland at the moment. But I'm telling you, and I've been through it on the show many times recently, they're kicking goals up here. And when I say kicking goals, I mean anti-globalist agenda goals. We are actually getting what we voted for up in Queensland. Not on everything. Yeah. There are some things he's doing which we don't agree with, but on the majority of things, he's pushing back against the globalist agenda.
Just like, it's not even anti-globalist, it's just common sense.
Yeah. But the second thing that I will say is, if you really want to know the answers to what we need to do as a country and as global citizens to turn this thing around, our nation needs a massive mindset shift.
Cool, yeah.
And this is a thing too that people need to understand. We have already had a massive shift of mindset over the last 20 years. I've experienced it. Alex has experienced it too. And it is by design. So we have been groomed into becoming a citizenry which is easy to control. And it's, in my opinion, it's through this sort of psychological conditioning. So on the one hand, anyone in this country who is a colour other than white, who is LGBTIQA+, who might be an immigrant, or one of the other, in quotes, protected classes, you have been groomed to think that you are a victim and that the world owes you something. And I'm telling you right now, you're not a victim. Some people actually are. Doesn't matter what you classify yourself as. There's real victims in this country, but I'm telling you, the vast majority of you who have been convinced by media, by schooling, by well-meaning parents that you're a victim, you're not. Cut it out.
It's called postmodernism, and that seems to be the prevailing feeling around at the moment, which is every issue is looked at in the guise of oppressor versus oppressed.
Yeah, victim versus oppressor, yep.
Yeah, and it's not going to do anything for you.
That's right. And it doesn't
will not serve you to think that way.
Correct. And it makes you so easy to manipulate. And so I'll say, so for all those people, you're not actually a victim, and you actually need to realize that by treating yourself as a victim, you hand all of your power away to external forces to actually change your circumstances. Whereas the day you stop saying that you're a victim, you actually get your own personal agency back, and you can actually do something to improve your life. Now, on the other side of things, if you don't fall into one of these protected classes, like I don't, for example, I'm a straight white male, i.e. the devil.
Yeah.
We have been manipulated in a different way, which is we are seen as the privileged class that is the oppressor in a lot of these different circumstances. So I have often spoken about on the show a thing in Australia that we call the white guilt complex, which is essentially people like us are told all the time that Australia has this disgusting colonial past and we stole this land from the indigenous people and you should feel guilty about that at all times. And that has permeated through other things such as climate change. So we get told, oh, don't drive a car because you're going to destroy the planet. It's this guilt, which again, they use to control the things that you do and make you feel guilty for advocating for yourself. So as a society, if we really want to improve things, this doesn't start from getting better politicians in. It starts from you and your own mentality, and not treating yourself as a victim, and not treating yourself and not feeling guilty for things that you've never even benefited from. So, to give you an example from my own personal life, we're 5 years into the show, where COVID is well and truly in the rearview mirror. And everything that, well, maybe not everything, but 90% of the things that we said on this show during COVID, which was 100% against the government narrative, the mainstream media narrative, the establishment medical narrative, 90% of the things that we said at the time, which were extremely unpopular, have proven to be correct through the lens of hindsight. And hindsight's a beautiful thing if you learn from hindsight. Because we had a few people commenting on those reels too, saying, oh, you still talking about COVID? Here's the thing, guys. We don't talk about COVID because of COVID. We talk about COVID because COVID is the same playbook that they've used to manipulate us through a whole bunch of different other subjects and continue to do so. So a lot of people who woke up, quote unquote, during COVID are like, I'll never fall for that again, but then they're still falling for it with climate change and renewable energy. And it's the same system, and this is the way that it works. The government points at so-called experts that give it advice to sell the government's agenda and ideas to the citizenry. So during COVID, very simple. How often did the politicians quote medical advice that we were never allowed to see? And they said that the advice came from the chief health officer or other experts in the medical field, even though they were actively censoring actual experts in the medical field who were saying the opposite of what they were saying at the time. They censored those off the internet so you couldn't hear those voices. So they cited all these supposed experts, and then when you actually did the digging, you realised that all these experts were literally funded by either the government or by the pharmaceutical companies that stood to benefit the most from us accepting their solution to the COVID problem, which was the vaccines. Climate change, we're seeing the exact same playbook. So the government comes out and they try to put up reports from quote-unquote independent bodies like the CSIRO to state that renewables are the cheapest form of energy. Now, two things on that. Number one, the CSIRO is 75% funded by this same government, and the other 25% comes from billionaires like Twiggy Forrest and Simon Holmes-A-Court, who benefit the most from renewable energy subsidies, which is your taxpayer dollars given to these billionaires to do these renewable energy projects. So the CSIRO comes out with a report. The government says that renewables are the cheapest form of energy, because they know you're not going to read it. I read the report. The report says black coal is still the cheapest form of energy.
And do you know how we know that, Jason?
Because look at your energy prices since we've gotten rid of black coal and implemented all these renewable projects.
So that's like the, I always try to tell people to anchor their thoughts and feelings to reality.
Yeah.
So yeah, you keep hearing renewables cheaper, cheapest, but then you go look at your bill and your bill renewable level has gone up, like the supply of renewable energy has gone up.
Yep.
So by logical extension, your bill should be going down.
Correct.
But it's going up.
Correct. And again, this is where feeling seems to supersede facts and reality for a lot of people. And I was having a conversation, like part of the thing that prompted this was I was talking to someone during the week, and they sent me a reel, and it was this silly reel, and it was like wives spooking their husbands to try to see how they would react in a crisis. And like she sent it to me, was sort of like giving about it. And I said, and it's going to sound massively wankery, but it's fine. This whole show's a wank when it comes to me anyway. But I just said back, I said, my wife has had multiple opportunities to put my manhood to the test, and I passed every time. Whether it's from when she had a C-section and the doctors are like, you're not allowed to look because all the dads pass out. And I'm like, nah. Oh, actually, hold on, I've just lost my camera again. Let's switch to camera 2, see if that's going to work. Alright, you got me, and you've frozen, Alex. You there?
No.
I know you're back. Alright, hold on, let me do this. Try to sort my stuff out. There we go. Yeah, so the doctors say you're not allowed to look inside the open, gaping wound in your wife because men tend to pass out. And I was like, no, it's just super interesting. So I peeked over the curtain, had a look, totally fine. We've had snakes inside the house. I've posted reels to that effect too, which I've had to pull out of the house to save the family. The Christmas tornado, when the distance between where I live and where my parents live was like 50% of that distance was covered in fallen trees, and I got a text message from Mum saying we need help ASAP. I jumped in the ute with a chainsaw and spent 2.5 hours clearing trees off the road just to get up there when even the local police didn't think I'd be able to get there. So personally, my man card remains intact, right? Now, my comment to her about this was, I'm the wrong person to talk to because I'm the last of a generation of men that was raised on Dragon Ball Z and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Those are my examples of manhood when I was a kid. And this is why I think that this mindset shift is so pervasive, because we often hear stories about how Hollywood is given grants from governments, and my camera's frozen again. It's just trying to slow my roll. Here we go. So we often hear stories about how Hollywood is given grants by the US government to sell certain narratives. Like we saw that over the last 5 years with like climate change propaganda. How many movies have come out about storms or climate change, etc., which is all government narrative funding, right? So I've often thought about the role that media that we consume as kids, how that actually shapes your mindset and your mentality as you age, and how that's shifted over time. So I remember being in high school, the shift was made in movies, and this is from a male perspective, by the way, because I'm a bloke, I can't comment on a female's perspective. But for blokes, a shift was made where the jock was no longer cool. Yeah. So in the 90s, the cool characters were your action men, your Arnies, your Jean-Claude Van Dammes, your Sylvester Stallones, Bruce Willis, your jacked dudes, ultra masculine men, they were what was cool in the 90s when I was very, very young. Then in the 2000s, there was a shift, and they shifted towards the snarky beta male characters. So like Superbad was probably the genesis of that for me, right? The shift went from the dumb jock to the funny beta males who were unpopular, and because a lot of people could identify with that. And that made that cool. So you got to think about how that mentality affects young men who are consuming that content and what sort of mentality they're going to bring to life. Because the thing is, men are wired to compete. We actually are. It's in our DNA. It's the hunter of the hunter-gatherer spectrum. We are wired to take risks. We are wired to not want to be told what to do. So one of the things that I know is coming with my children, because I experienced it with my own father, is I'm in the beautiful stage of parenting boys, which is when they look up to me and idolize me. And I know that this will only last for probably another 4 to 5 years, roughly. And as soon as that puberty kicks in, it goes from idolize to demonize. Because there is something that happens in men, and I believe it is a natural part of our DNA, when the testosterone kicks in, your wiring completely changes to, it's time for you to leave the house and go out and do your own thing. So you start fighting with your old man about everything. You start fighting with your mum, because it's literally you rejecting parenthood and being told what to do and wanting to go out on your own. And it is a natural thing that happens in most men. And I believe, like this is why I've said in the past, that young testosterone-fueled men will be what ends up saving the world again, because they're the people who are least likely to be susceptible to this propaganda, because they don't like being told what to do in the first place. So if you're constantly told, masculinity's toxic, do this, otherwise you're a bad person, those young boys are just going to tell you to get fucked anyway. But the thing is, adults lose that at some point. And there's a lot of people our generation who've lost that. And that's why, you know, they always talk about it with like army recruitment. You can only recruit young men into the army. You can't recruit men in their mid-30s. Because guess what? The testosterone's done these ones. You've had kids. You know more about the world. You're not just hyped up and aggressive anymore. Like, there's a reason why older...
You're also not going to be susceptible to the mentality.
That's right.
Like, just on that, just a real quick note. So I've got friends in the military.
Yep.
And one of the pretty shocking things that I'd heard from a friend of mine was he was a pilot. And he found it so monotonous that 99.9% of the drills that they did in aircraft were drills.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't to do anything. It was rehearsing just in case something happens.
Yep.
But there's something soul-destroying about doing something for nothing.
Yeah, just for the sake of doing the thing. It's like what we talk about bureaucracy all the time. To a bureaucrat, the process is everything. The outcome means nothing. So to them, all they care about is the process, not what actually happens afterwards. But anyway, getting back to the point, what can we really do to fix our country? The step one starts from you having the mentality and raising your kids with the mentality of, guess what? The world is not fair. The world does not owe you anything. You are dealt the cards that you have been dealt at the time that you're alive right now. So you can't change anything that's happened to you up until this point. All you can change is what you do today, which will either improve or destroy your opportunities tomorrow. Take control of yourself. Like, so during COVID, when the vaccine mandates came out, we experienced it up here in Queensland because we were one of the last states to actually mandate the vaccines. And we had all the friends going, oh, fuck, I'll hold the line. I'm never going to take the vaccine. I'm not going to take the vaccine. And then they brought mandates up here. And they went, oh, but I'll lose my job. I've got to take it. And now we know people who have had issues from these vaccines. And I know people who are dead now, who were previously healthy prior to the vaccine rollout. I can't prove it was from the vaccine.
Yeah.
But it looks awfully close to being the cause of death. And I know that. But here's the thing. How did I handle that during COVID? I had a new son at home. So in the time that you probably want stability more than anything in the world, I had a son. I literally left a career to start a new one that didn't have mandates on it. I left sales to then start a gardening business because I wasn't going to be a victim of the system. I refused to be a victim. So I said, no, I pushed back. And the thing is, that's the mentality that built this country. That's what the Australian...
That's the mentality that builds every country.
Yeah, and that's what, like, the Australian reputation was that I grew up in. And, like, that's what America even still... I mean, until COVID, I think America looks at us as a laughingstock now. But pre-COVID, America, when they think of Australia, they just thought of rugged, like Crocodile Dundee. Rugged, relaxed, like... larrikins. Like, we can't even laugh about things in this country anymore because too many people who aren't victims think they are and get offended about it, and the people who aren't the victims, because they've got the white guilt complex, they get even more offended than the ethnicity who the joke was about, and it's just a joke, and you're only joking about that ethnicity because you're trying to invite them in, because that's what we do in this country. I've said it before. In Australia, you cannot have speech laws in a country where you call your best mates cunts and your worst enemies your mate. It doesn't make any sense.
Separated by race, united by racism.
Absolutely. It's one of the most special things in this country. We talk about the benefits of multiculturalism. Part of it is the humour that comes with it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So if you really want to fix things, I know this rant's gone on for a long time, but it all comes down to your mentality.
Yeah.
All of it comes back to your mentality. And I'm telling you right now, stop thinking you're a victim, and you need to understand your victimhood was put in your mind by the government and by the media because it makes you easy to control. And we've spoken about it on the podcast many times about how the government decisions that they are making, we keep going, oh, they're doing all this stuff that just makes no sense. Companies going broke every single day. Kids priced out of the housing market, which we know has been the ticket to a reasonable middle class lifestyle, is if you could buy a house and you ride the wealth wave up. Like, they're being priced out of it. They are literally doing these things on purpose to keep you broke and keep you poor. Because when you are dependent on government handouts, guess what? They own you.
Yeah.
So if you are upset, especially young people, if you are upset by the way the system is stacked against you right now, well, guess what? Don't wait for the system to fix it for you, because they're not fucking interested. They're going to make it worse. The only person who can improve your circumstances is you. So pull your finger out, tell the government to go fuck themselves, and go and make your own way through the world.
I mean, purely from a logical standpoint, you understand that they haven't got everything right. Like, there's so much historic evidence of the government getting things wrong. Therefore, just because they say it is the case, doesn't mean it's right.
Exactly.
We should all use levels of our own morality to make decisions on what we're going to do in life.
Yeah.
And it's not the government's job to implement the morals. And it's going to come up in this subject, all the politicians talking about the march, about how multiculturalism is the fabric of our country, and blah, 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 blah.
Our diversity is our strength.
Yeah, don't let their words decide what your own morality is.
That's right.
I think most people have a pretty similar moral compass. I think most people share the same ideals. I think people on the extreme ends of both sides of political systems actually want the same thing. It's just the implementation that is different.
Absolutely.
But knowing that governments have made mistakes in the past, are making mistakes now, will make mistakes in the future, don't let their bad decisions make life bad for you.
Yeah, exactly. And when you know they are making decisions which are against your interests, and when you analyze the reasons why they're making them, and the only logical conclusion is it's to either control you or to make more money for their billionaire friends and backers, stop voting for these people just because they make you feel guilty about being white in Australia, for example.
Look, as much as I think voting is important, it's funny because I would have considered myself a libertarian. The older I get, the more I look into it, the more I'm thinking anarchism is probably due for a run. But Jason nailed it, which is like, start with your own mentality and start with the actions that you're making. Stop looking for answers from somewhere else or someone else.
Yep.
The answers are with you. The action is with you. It's what you do now that's going to put yourself in the best position. I always use the the plane crash analogy of like, when you're getting the safety briefing in the plane, if the plane's going down and the oxygen masks come out, you put your oxygen mask on you first before you help anyone else.
Yep.
You feeling bad for someone that you're being told to feel bad about, some oppressed people, some whatever, you feeling bad about it does zero for that.
Absolutely.
Zero.
Yeah.
If anything, it hurts society writ large because you're not going to act properly, and therefore you don't get out either, so you're just another one of them.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
So benefit yourself, and it's set people, when I say it, and look, maybe I need to find better words for it, help yourself first. Once you've helped yourself, you can pull other people out of it.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
And not just from like a financial point of view or a motivational point of view, but if you do it yourself, you at least know the steps. Like if you become successful, or if you build a really great life, you have more evidence to tell someone else how to do that for themselves.
Absolutely.
Right? Whereas you can know all the theory, but if you're not putting the action steps in place, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, and I've just got to say too, guys, every single person listening to this show and every single person not listening to this show, your life matters equally to everyone else. Like, why would you think for a second that, like, so we see this often with this, we have this, again, it's a dividing line put in place by politicians on purpose to keep divide and conquer. It's the oldest trick in the book. But we see this all the time, especially playing out down in Victoria. You've got well-meaning Australian citizens who are being told every single day that you are racist if you want a machete-wielding Sudanese non-citizen who attacked a fellow Australian citizen in the street to be sent home. So you are literally being told you're racist for advocating for your own safety instead of the government coming out and going, you know what? Australian citizen, taxpayer, born here, has every right to be here. You are right. This one particular violent person, because they're not all the same, but this one particular violent person, we should probably send them home. But instead of that getting that, like, it's the polar opposite is what we're getting. And you know what, let's get into the march, because this is what we've experienced from the march from last weekend. Should we talk about that now?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So obviously, last weekend was the March for Australia. The first pro-Australian march in, I don't remember when the last one was.
Since I can remember.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to attend a march, but unfortunately I had extremely sick children at home with me. But Alex, you did attend the march up in Brisbane. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
I didn't mean to. I actually had another event booked, but I happened to be in the city. And then what I noticed was, for a start, the media helicopters flying over for hours prior. And you could kind of track what they were doing.
I could see them from my house.
Right, yeah, following the crew of people. But
all 168 of them that the media reported were there.
Yeah, I mean, the highest reported number I heard, I think, was 9,000 people.
Yeah.
So to paint a bit of a picture, I got to my event at 11:30. On the Uber drive in, I was passing people that were walking to the thing. I was at the event for like 3 hours, and the helicopter was following, and I could tell, oh, they're over the bridge now. I was in Roma Street, and there was a constant stream of people, maybe 8 to 15 people wide.
Yep.
For the 3 hours that I was there,
yep,
plus whatever happened behind me. So maybe 4 or 5 hours worth, 8 to 15 wide for 5 hours.
So if you had to make a realistic estimate of how many people you thought were there.
So the way I do it is I've been to Suncorp Stadium for Origin.
Yep.
And Origin has 50, 60,000 people.
Yep.
And I know what that looks like when they come out. This was that, if not more.
Okay. So reasonable to say 50,000 people.
Yeah. Yep. So we go to walk out, and the friends I were with, they're definitely not politically charged like I am. And they, if I would have told them that we're going to end up in it, they would not have gone.
Yeah. Because they didn't want to be seen as racist.
They didn't want to be associated with it. But we walk up the ramp. I'm outing myself here. I was trying to find a donut. Right? I wanted a donut. They didn't have any at the place. I was like, I want something sweet, so we're going to walk into the city and get a donut.
Mm-hmm.
As we walk up out of Roma Street, we're in the middle of it. Yeah. There is a sea of Australian flags. I have not seen that many Australian flags for probably 15 years,
yeah.
when Australia Day used to be fun.
Yeah.
Okay? They were all families. It was diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't just whites. There were all shades of colours there. There was chanting. Look, there was some like Albo's a dickhead, right? There was a lot of that. Everyone had a smile on their face. There was actually no anger. There was a lot of old people there. And it was a really, really good energy. And I actually smiled. When I got into it, I walked up the ramp and I've just walked into the sort of the melee of people.
Yeah.
And I started smiling. It's like, this is really nice. This was not a heated thing.
Mm-hmm.
This was not a hate-fueled thing. This was a unity to which I have not seen for a long time. Because like the last, a lot of the other protests, especially like the COVID ones, it was really divisive.
Yeah.
Like maybe even more divisive than these ones. And people were very angry. These people weren't angry. These people were just trying to get their point across.
Yeah.
So as we walk through, we get to a point where, and I have to say, shout out to the police. The police, it was one of the comments that I made was, we live in a country where the police service provides the infrastructure for people to protest.
Yep.
So all the roads were closed. They had guided us into a way that got us good coverage, I guess, of the city. Didn't upset the traffic. No, even the people that were halted by police weren't upset by the thing. They'd stop every now and again to let people through, and then they would, so that was really good. People were interacting with the police in a nice way.
Yeah, good.
It was just a really wholesome thing to see. Then I had said to my friend, I wonder what the news is going to say about this.
Yeah.
Now, I have some clips. Did you have any comments before we get to that? Did you have any comments?
Yeah. Look, I wanted to say just one thing, which was the part of the theme of the reel that I posted up was that in the lead up to the march, we saw how the government and the media were trying to muddy the information space prior to the march.
Totally.
By saying things like it was anti-certain ethnicities, it was a racist march, it was... And then pulling the stupid, like, unless you're indigenous, you're an immigrant anyway, like that sort of rhetoric.
Yeah.
So for those of you who still are unaware of what the whole point of the actual march was, the whole point was a march of pro-Australian values and anti-mass immigration. So the key is, we don't care where they come from. The numbers that they are being brought in at is completely inappropriate and unsustainable, and it is not the cause of all of the problems in society, but it is pouring fuel on an already raging fire when it comes to cost of living and housing.
I also think it's something else too. I think it was something that people could agree on, but I think the wider point, and maybe no one's articulated this, but I definitely felt it, was we are not being listened to.
Yeah.
And, we've made the jokes here that the government has said we need migration to build the houses, and then we've said, yeah, but where do they live? For every one person you bring in needs a place to live. What's easier to do? Build a house, which what's Labor government done? 17 or something, and brought in 500,000 people in 2 years.
No, it's more than that. It's 1.5 million people.
So it just makes, like, again, logically, it just makes no sense.
Yeah.
So I think this is like, hey, you're not listening to us.
Yeah.
Because if you did, okay, if you and I are in government and everyone is whinging about mass migration, you'd stop mass migration.
Correct. Because that, and again, this is what we talk about on the show all
That's
the
supposed
time.
to be political, right?
That's the way that I think people think the government actually operates.
Yeah.
And that's the way that representative democracy is supposed to operate. So when you elect your elected representative, they are supposed to advocate for the will of their constituents. And like what you're saying, the frustration in the march was that is clearly not happening. People are being elected on a platform of doing X, and then as soon as they're in, they go and do Y, and they're not listening to their constituents.
So let me play some of the clips. So the question was, I said, what is the media going to say about this event? And I told it to my friend because he's not involved in any of this stuff, and he goes, I think it'll be pretty level. Well, I've got some examples. Now, I didn't get all the examples, but basically on YouTube, the news section has all the Australian news across there. I've only got 2 clips. All of them were the same.
Yep.
All of them were the same. So we'll just play. This is Channel 9.
We begin this morning with new reaction to those nationwide anti-immigration protests we saw over the weekend, which saw 2 groups in Melbourne go head-to-head in a heated clash. And this morning, breaking news in Sydney, 2 people charged for attacking an officer at a pub following the march.
We have reporters in both cities. First to Jack Hahn, who is in Sydney for us. Jack, run us through what happened.
Yeah, good morning to you. So, look, police saying that yesterday afternoon they were called to this pub here on Broadway because, according to 000 callers, there were some people in the pub yelling and screaming offensive things to people on the street. So the officers came around, they tried having a chat with these people. A brawl allegedly breaks out. That's when an officer is assaulted. They return fire with pepper spray. 2 suspects allegedly running away on foot, but they did not make it far. And this morning, a 29-year-old and 48-year-old have been formally charged with affray, along with assaulting and resisting a police officer. Meantime, nearby in Redfern, a separate incident taking place, fists flying on a Sydney train. Check out this vision exclusive. We can show it to you here on Today in 9 News. You see that there's a heated exchange between a person on the platform and someone on the train. Take note, the person on the platform is wearing an Australian flag.
Take note, everyone. Take note.
Train staff tried closing the doors to bring an end to the chaos, and by the time the police arrived there, the train took off along with the person on the platform. Now, we don't know where exactly that man came from, but according to authorities, the 2 people arrested here in Broadway did indeed attend the anti-immigration protests.
Okay, so there's more to this clip. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's just pure propaganda. So right from the beginning, they paint the whole march in a negative light. They don't actually talk about the march at all. They go immediately to violence. The first story they talk about in violence, there is no evidence that it doesn't say who started it, whether or not they were Australians or not.
Yep.
Right? Who actually began the altercation in the first place.
It just associates violence.
Absolutely. It's guilt by association. And then obviously, very clearly, take note, ladies and gentlemen, they are wearing an Australian flag. Now, we don't know, because the camera is well far away, we don't know what potentially prompted the altercation in the first place. All we see is an altercation, but we want you to zone in on the guy wearing the Australian flag, even though it does take 2 to tango, as most people are aware of.
Now, I had to scan forward. Here.
That were aggressive and violent towards our police officers.
So,
and horrific slogans yelled out. How concerned are you this morning?
Awful. They were awful scenes.
Can you pause it?
And they were also known...
They were saying horrific slogans yelled out. Remember in Sydney a little while ago when a certain protest was yelling, "Gas the Jews! Gas the Jews!" This got no coverage at all.
Yeah.
Racists who were trying to spread division.
Seen horrific slogans yelled out. How concerned are you this morning?
Awful. They were awful scenes. And they were also known racists who were trying to spread division and hatred. And I think it is particularly appalling the people that were aggressive and violent towards our police officers. Australian police are having a very hard week at the moment. They're just trying to keep our community safe. I think that was particularly egregious.
I just want to... Okay. If you're listening to this, we'll have to describe it. But I want to see if you saw what I saw. So I'm going to play that part again.
Having a very hard week at the moment. They're just trying to keep our community safe. I think that was particularly...
What do you see here?
I see people who are probably not in the pro-Australian march.
Yeah, the ones... So we can clearly see... we can clearly see the people on the Australian side are on the right-hand side of the screen, okay? You can tell because they're covered, they've got Australian flags, they've got Australian hats on. Then you see people getting pepper sprayed by the police who have, we can see here, what is this called?
Is it a kefir? I can't remember.
Yeah. They are facing the protesters, which make me think that they were anti.
They were part of the counter-protest.
The counter-protest.
Yeah.
The police seemingly doing their job and are getting rid of unruly people are pepper spraying the people with their face coverings. Okay?
Yeah. I don't see any pepper spray being aimed towards the Australian flag side.
Now, I'm going to play it again. Listen to her words.
The Australian police are having a very hard week at the moment. They're just trying to keep our community safe. I think that was particularly egregious.
Well, particularly in Melbourne, right, where we saw the resources so stretched. I mean, you've got people, neo-Nazis, who were given a mic. They were given a platform to espouse their beliefs. Those interviewed proudly said they were neo-Nazis and proud racists. At a time when the government is trying to lower tensions around anti-Semitism.
Again, what are they showing to what are they saying?
Yeah, they're showing it's...
Antifa.
Yeah.
Right? They're showing counter-protesters getting beaten up by police.
Yeah.
Right? But they're saying it was the white nationalists.
These people are openly admitting to being neo-Nazis.
That's right. And in my role as Federal Minister, I can make very clear to your viewers this morning, there is no place for hatred in this country, and the vast majority of people...
Now, here's a shot where there's no counter-protesters. It's just Australians, right? And don't forget, we're dealing with biased media here.
So we should be seeing lots of pepper spraying, right?
There's none. There's no movement in it. Everyone's having a good time.
We're not at these protests, are horrified by these protests.
Now, this one's slightly different. Yep. There is a guy in an
Australian flag being pepper sprayed in the face,
Yeah. And want to work together with other people in their community to make sure these people are the vast minority and cannot demonstrate their
and then
hate.
there was people burning an Australian flag. I'm assuming they're not in the pro-Australia march.
Yeah, and then you did see this clip made the rounds. This is one of the ones that really triggered me because I kept seeing it, and I kept seeing it associated with the anti-mass immigration march.
To make sure these people are the vast minority and cannot demonstrate.
Which is this lady here who pulls her mask down to spit on an old lady.
Yeah.
Right, and then watch this one here.
Can you just? I know you want to watch it. Can you go back 2 seconds to where they're burning the flag? Can you just pause it when they're burning the flag?
As a minister, I can make very clear to your viewers this morning, there is no place for hatred in this country, and the vast majority of people were not at these protests, are horrified by these protests, and want to work together with other people in their community to make sure these people...
Right, pause it. Does that say abolish Australia on the floor?
Yeah, it does. Okay. Good, I didn't know that. Abolish Australia.
Right? So again, guys,
40%, hold on, what does this one say? 40% of, what's that word? Domestic abusers.
Yeah, so this whole news article is about how the people who march for Australia are racists and are causing division, etc. They're showing video footage of people burning the Australian flag who've written abolish Australia on the ground. This is in Australia, guys. Now, I'm just going to say this. Go to Palestine and do the same thing to them and see what happens.
Yeah.
Are we going to call them racists for taking justice on you? No, we're not. Anyway, continue.
I want to keep saying, listen to the words and watch the vision.
Yeah.
So they're trying to They're trying
to associate violent imagery with the Australian marches.
What's the line from I can't even remember the book where they try to trick what you see. They're trying to
telling you to ignore the evidence of your own eyes and ears.
Yeah.
Are the vast minority and cannot demonstrate their hate.
Annika, I'm not sure whether you saw the image. I think it was in Adelaide where it was Desi Freeman's picture was held up, right? He is obviously the wanted fugitive at the moment, accused of gunning down 2 police officers. That is alarming. Are you worried?
Okay, I want to talk about this. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, this is everywhere. So it's an image. Someone has made a sign saying free man with Desi Freeman's face on it. What are your thoughts on this?
Look, my first thought is when we were kids, we were told a story about Ned Kelly. this is becoming modern day Ned Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
As we covered on the show last week, very, very delicate situation. They said alleged cop killer. We don't know. We haven't seen
That's true. Yeah,
body cam footage. Everything's alleged until proven in a court of law, right? So at the moment, and for a start, they haven't even caught him yet. Secondly, we have no idea what's actually happened during that altercation. Thirdly, like I said, we were literally told stories about Ned Kelly when we were kids. It's in our schooling system. And the story of Ned Kelly is essentially one man and his family's push back against government tyranny. As we covered on the show last week, Desi Freeman had 10 police officers show up at his house, and we have no idea what happened to... Just like that train altercation, we don't know what happened prior to the footage, right? We just know what the end result was, and we're calling the guy the Australian flag racist. So, look, do I think that having that picture there was the best idea? No, I don't think so. I think it was probably inflammatory to have that imagery there, which would potentially lead me to think it was an agent provocateur.
That's 100% where I went.
Now, yeah.
But I'd also say, on the other side, I'm sure this has happened to both protests. So
I totally agree. Yeah.
The week prior, the having the Ayatollah there and the ISIS flag.
Yep.
Okay. Or sorry, a slightly changed version of
ISIS. Slightly modified.
We'll talk about later.
So,
we'll talk about that later. So, I don't think everyone thinks Desi Freeman is a hero.
No.
Just like I don't think everyone in the pro-Palestine thing thinks the Iranian Ayatollah is a good guy or ISIS is good.
Correct.
I could quite easily see, and you can see that the way that, the media is talking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, go stand there, hold this up in the middle there.
Yeah. Can I make a comment on this too while we're at it, or at the subject? There were no NSN, National Socialist Network members present at the Brisbane March. There were National Socialist Network people speaking in Sydney and also in Victoria. Now, we've covered many times on the show how particularly the Victorian National Socialist Network just appears to be government cosplayers, because every single time they arrive, it just so happens to be around the time that the government's trying to get new hate speech laws passed. They all cover their faces. They're all in way too good a shape to be actual racists, right? Because we know what they really look like. They look like government operatives. And don't you find it interesting, Alex, that the only state that the National Socialist Network didn't show up is the one state that's not run by Labor?
Yeah, interesting. Interesting.
That these kinds of movements are actually gaining strength in parts of Australia?
I certainly am, and you would have seen Anna Lee, who's one of our experts and federal ministers, speak to that across the past few days. And as Minister for Communications, my concern is how we stop this from spreading online. I think everybody in Australia has experienced an uptick in seeing this kind of behaviour because people are able to organise online. And part of what drives us as the Albanese government and our mission to make online spaces safer, particularly for Australian kids, is the prevalence of this kind of thing and doing what we can where we can.
One of the
Here we go. We've attached the thing they've wanted from the get-go. If they want to own the internet, they want to get rid of end-to-end encryption, and they're going to use the picture of Desi Freeman at a protest rally where the only violent people we can see were counter-protesters, right? They're going to completely flip the narrative. They said making children unsafe. There was nothing unsafe for children in this whole thing, yet she brings it up because they want to lock down the internet.
Absolutely.
Well, let's keep going.
Key challenges that you face as government is, of course, that they are finding a legitimate cause of grievance in this country, right, and hijacking it. So we're talking about an issue like housing, which is...
I just want to make the point, too, for people who maybe aren't as versed in narrative deconstruction as we are. You need to understand the internet is the direct competitor to the mainstream media.
Oh, yeah.
The mainstream media has every incentive in the world to assist the government in hamstringing the internet because they will end up making more money down the track. This is
not just money, influence.
Yeah, all of
elections will be decided on what the mainstream media.
Yeah, but it's the mainstream media's survival because they're dying and we know it. And that's one of the reasons why the government, like you said, is trying to take control of the internet, because they've always used the mainstream media narrative to control people. And now they've lost control because of the internet. And they know that the majority of people who still watch shows like this are baby boomers, or, you know, basically people who are like 55 plus. Those people are dying out soon. And if you lose control over those people, and it becomes the Wild West of the internet, you lose control of the narrative, you lose votes in a democracy, or the entire control apparatus disintegrates. So this is a mutually beneficial arrangement where government gets to go on mainstream media to parrot their talking points. That's the point.
And doing what we can where we can.
One of the key challenges that you face as government is, of course, that they are finding a legitimate cause of grievance in this country, right, and hijacking it. So we're talking...
Can I also just make the point that we're talking, like, they're talking about violence and street protests and racism and etc. Can I just make the point that the government minister that was sent to go on the show is the communications minister? She has nothing to do with policing. She has nothing to do with immigration. She has nothing to do with...
She's the internet cancel person.
Exactly.
That's her job.
That's her job. Correct.
Yeah.
Was that they are finding a legitimate cause of grievance in this country, right, and hijacking it. So we're talking about an issue like housing, which is a legitimate concern for so many Australians. But it's because you lot haven't built enough houses. Both parties, not just the Labor Party in government now, the previous government as well. It feels hopeless for so many out there.
Well, Sarah, I would not for 1 second give any credence to the grievances of these people as legitimate.
The point is they're finding...
Let's just... Okay. Mm-hmm. So, just in Brisbane, 50,000 people.
Yep.
You know, is pretty safe to assume it's probably similar numbers everywhere else. Let's hear what she said, word for word. Okay.
Give any credence to
so many out there.
Well, Sarah, I would not for 1 second give any credence to the grievances of these people as legitimate.
The point is
everything that we did was illegitimate.
Yeah.
Is what she said. So she would not give one. She doesn't believe any of the grievances of the people there.
Yeah.
This proves what we've been saying the whole long. They're not here for us.
That's right.
They don't give
They don't represent you.
Yeah.
Finding a legitimate, as you know, a legitimate issue in Australia, and they're hijacking it. That's the concern here, because you're not facing it.
Mostly sovereign citizens base themselves off a conspiracy theory.
Hold on, mostly sovereign citizens? Mm-hmm. What are we talking about? When did that come up? She just brought that up. Mostly sovereign citizens.
Yeah, and can I just make the point too, again, before I forget it? So her whole argument is... the ideas of groups like the NSN are able to spread online, therefore that's unsafe, so we need to clamp down on online spaces to stop that from spreading. How many total NSN members are we talking about attended this thing? Do you reckon there was 20 in Victoria and 10 in New South Wales?
Maybe. Yeah.
Right, okay. Total. So in other words, so she just said... I would not for a second give any credence to the grievances of the, let's roughly say, 150,000 people that attended between Brisbane, Sydney and Victoria. Right? So 150,000 people is not enough people for her to give a shit about what their perspective is. But she'll hone in on the 30 people who arrived across all of those states as the NSN and say they are so dangerous that we need to clamp down on the internet.
Yeah, good point.
Here, because you're not facing it.
Mostly sovereign citizens base themselves off a conspiracy theory, and then it grows from there, and being able to navigate and organise online where previously...
So is there a housing concern?
Of course, so I think we're conflating two different issues here, and I'm at pains not to do that. Of course, the Albanese government, you would have seen all last week in Parliament, we were doing more, announcing our new 5% deposit scheme to get first home own buyers into home ownership more quickly.
She can't even say the thing that they're supposed to do.
Yeah, what a communications minister.
You know, reducing the 20% down to 5% so that people can actually consider this.
Like I keep reminding people, when I bought my place, 2007, you could get deposits as low as 3%, and then a small event called the global financial crisis happened shortly thereafter. Yep. So we're at 5% now. We've still got a ways to go. And by the way, it wasn't government mandated. The government wasn't spotting the difference like they are now.
Yep. And just as another reminder for people, the big winner about reducing the required amount of deposit is the banks, because the banks get to lend you an additional 15%.
And the cost of the house goes up.
Correct.
Every dollar of incentive goes up by $1. Okay.
Is to be a realistic goal. Minister Claire O'Neil has full shoulders to the wheel trying to get as much done as we can at a federal level and working with our state counterparts. It's absolutely a problem. Housing affordability is absolutely something that comes up across the board. Let's not conflate that with this very separate, serious issue.
Okay. That's beautiful. One's a serious issue, which is we're going to lock down that internet.
Yeah.
The other one's an unserious issue, which is the housing thing, which is the reason why all these people actually
and again, so like just to make the point, she agreed at the end of that housing is a massive problem. And the grievance of the march is that we have brought in too many people too quickly and that there is not enough housing available. But she said that those grievances are completely illegitimate. Like, this is the double speak that the government just does, which just shows they have zero respect for you. They don't give a fuck what you think. And the problem is, they know that come time when the ballot box is getting closer, they're just going to buy your vote or guilt you into voting for them, and they're probably
100%.
still going to win again, because that's what happened last time.
I've got another clip. This one's shorter. So this is just so you know that every channel did the exact same reporting.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you guys saw a lot of this stuff too.
This is Channel 7.
Young voices celebrate Australian diversity through the national anthem. Following a day when it...
Did you notice the line they used?
Yeah, for those who come across the seas, yeah.
Which is like the second verse that we don't really do.
They do it now.
and look, that's our... I mean, what is the origin of that? Was it always that?
Yeah, it was always two verses.
Yeah, okay. But
it's too long, man.
We only ever did the first one, right?
Yeah.
So the clip that they showed was the part that
of
says...
little children singing from those who come across the seas.
Yeah. Okay. Just so we all knew how crafted this thing was.
An extremist minority waved the flag in hatred at those who've come from across the seas.
Used the same clip that Channel 9 used. Okay, recycled the clip.
Yep.
Neo-Nazis storming Melbourne's Indigenous camp Sovereignty. In Sydney, arrests. The Prime Minister says it didn't reflect modern Australia.
A different nation than it was under the White Australia policy some time ago.
Extremism has no place in Australia.
This is a great point. Both parties don't give a shit about you.
Correct.
Both parties, because that was Susan Ley.
Yep, two wings of the same
backing
bird.
Up what Albo had just said.
Marine Faruqi calling it
a despicable display of white supremacy.
Revealing a message she received today.
Maybe we come find you, rape you, shoot you and your family dead.
The coalition.
First time on the internet?
True.
And also, Michaelia Cash pointing out Senator Faruqi had joined a pro-Palestine rally on Sydney's Harbour Bridge where a Hamas flag was waved.
Senator Faruqi...
And again, I don't think that flag could just as much be a plant.
That's a plant too, yeah. They're sowing division, absolutely.
Yep.
Has no credibility.
Can you pause it for a second?
Lecturing
I'm pro-Palestine.
Yeah.
Right? I am pro kids not getting blown up in Palestine. 100% pro. I'm not pro-Hamas. Hamas has done just as much evil to the Palestinian people as what Israel's currently doing. I'm pro-Palestine. Shoot me. Like, these are not counter issues.
Yeah.
But the government is turning them into counter issues to control you.
Yeah.
Australians about anti-extreme...
Oh, I like this Michaelia Cash.
No, sometimes she gets it right. Sometimes.
She's been like the only one saying anything right recently.
Yeah,
to me. Maybe I need to see more.
Even a broken clock's right twice a day, right?
Yeah.
He has no credibility. Lecturing Australians about anti-extremism.
The coalition denounced neo-Nazis but later voted against a Senate amendment condemning racism and white supremacy, arguing that...
Now, even that, okay. Let's listen to it again, and I want you... All right.
voted against the Senate
extremism.
The coalition denounced neo-Nazis but later voted against the Senate amendment condemning racism and white supremacy, arguing that would unfairly label everyone at the rally an extremist.
But what did you notice about what he just said?
They basically tried to sell it that the coalition is pro-racism.
And?
Oh, I missed that. What else?
And you should want that law to be brought in.
Yeah, of course.
Like they've taken, in sales, we have a thing where we take the deal away.
Yep.
So removing the deal actually builds tension towards the deal.
Yep.
So they've said, look, they said this thing, but then actually voted against this thing that you definitely want.
Yeah.
But they didn't want it. Because they didn't want it, you should want it.
Exactly. Can I also just say, too, that post all of this reporting, this week, Malcolm Roberts put up a bill for a Senate inquiry into the effects of immigration, as per, trying to do his bit by the marchers, and it was voted down by Labor, Liberal, and the Greens.
They hate you.
Mm-hmm.
The opposition voted against that. Shame on you.
The internet flooded with memes of anti-immigration protesters later filling Chinese restaurants and lining up for banh mi.
Now, I do want to address this.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is where the media thinks we're dumb.
Yeah.
Right? This is the definition of multicultural Australia.
Absolutely.
Is these people have come here and are starting businesses and selling products that we want to buy.
Yep.
A Chinese restaurant is one of the most Australian things you can have.
100%.
Right?
The dim sim was invented in Melbourne.
Yeah, that's true, right? So when they're mocking us, oh, you guys are idiots. It was, and you're not even, you have, and what's her face? I can't remember, because she's such an idiot.
Abby Chatfield.
Abby Chatfield, her laughing about it. You didn't read the sign. The sign said mass immigration.
Can I just say, just to make the point on that, can we just, for any of our female listeners or whatever who listen to people like Abby Chatfield became famous for being a whore on a reality TV show. That's not someone you should be looking up to for any...
No, but I don't even hold that against her. Her ideas are dumb.
Yeah, she's a dumb person.
Did you see where she wheeled her boyfriend out?
Oh, dude, I can't listen to any of her stuff. It's so cringe.
I got to tell you this, because this was hilarious, right?
Yeah.
So she gets, and I think it's her boyfriend, very good-looking guy, ripped, comes out, shirt undone, and she goes, because you won't listen to a white female, here's a man to tell you, right? But what was hilarious, dude, they look exactly the same. I'm not joking. The same hair. If it was dark and if they were at the same height, you would think they're twins.
Yeah, right.
Not a lot of diversity. Not a lot of diversity.
Maybe this is like a Brigitte Macron type scandal.
Yeah, he's a stud. He's an absolute stud. But they look like she essentially is dating herself.
Yeah, nothing more narcissistic than that. Can I also just make the point too that this entire talking point that the media's running with about this is racist?
Totally.
The media is being racist by pointing out the fact that people marching against mass immigration are then attending Chinese restaurants and shit.
Yeah.
It's a racist talking point. Yeah. Clearly these people are not racist.
Against that. Shame on you.
The internet flooded with memes of anti-immigration protesters.
Also, too, I think you'll find that those guys in this clip are Eastern Europeans. Right?
Later filling Chinese restaurants and lining up for banh mi. Eating their words. Mark Riley,
again,
7 News.
No, eating your words, son. They're not racist.
So, there was lit out of... we watched 5 minutes worth of clips. 5 minutes worth of clips. And there was one piece of violence perpetuated by someone associated with the Australia March.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was counter-protest.
Yeah. Okay.
And every piece of verbiage was about the Australia March being the bad guys.
Yeah, exactly. And again,
you saw that with your own eyes. Mm-hmm. You listened to it with your own ears.
Yeah.
And if you go ask the layman on the street, right? The people that aren't invested in the VK Bros like our viewers are, they are going to believe what they heard.
Yeah. And it's the
and
feeling
deny what they
that
see.
Persists. It's the feeling that persists. The facts don't matter. It's the feeling that persists.
Now, let me say this. I think this might be one of the most transformational aspects, even more so than COVID. And I'll tell you why. The demographic at the march in Brisbane, at least, was pretty old.
Yeah.
Okay? The average age, if I had to guess, just from what I witnessed myself, is probably 35 up. Okay? Although there's lots of kids there, like a lot of families there, but a lot of older demographics were there. Now, older demographics aren't involved in social media or the internet world as much as young people. And they consume a lot of mainstream media, right? Our parents still watch the normal news, right? They're not getting their news off TikTok.
Yeah.
Unlike COVID, where those people only were exposed to mainstream corporate media stuff and therefore made decisions on it, this time they've marched, they've seen how peaceful it was, they saw how united everyone was, and then they went home and they sat in front of corporate media and were told that they're all racist.
Yeah.
I think this is going to have more of an impact because you've now unleashed an additional demographic.
Yeah.
COVID was only conspiracy therapists that made it through there alive, right? This time, they're normies. These are normal people that you've had as part of your establishment. You know, the mainstream media has had these people captured.
Yep.
Okay? I would argue probably most of those people were, triple vaxxed, right?
Yep.
And yet, these people have experienced in real life what that march was like, only to be shown a completely different version of events at home.
Yeah, look, I think you're right. And I hope it's the reality of what happens. And we talk about this all the time. There's a penny drop moment for all of us. And it usually comes from when your own personal experience does not align with the version of the world that you're seeing playing out through the media. That can only have a positive effect. And I know that they are organising another march for this month for September. I'm not sure what date it's going to be on. I think that you'll see more and more people there.
If it's the 20th, they can march by my shed in Kelvin Grove and we can play poker.
Yay. All right, well, look, do you have any other points that you want to make on the march?
No. It was a great event. Props. I know the people that organised the Brisbane one in particular got, one of the attack vectors that they used was that no one knew who organised it, therefore it could have been the NSN, and the reason why the organisers didn't was to actually have control of the way that the information was laid out, and I think that actually worked to great effect.
Yeah, they did a really, really good job. So one of the organisers goes by the handle of Shallow Chow online. He's a good follow, and he literally came out and said that. He's like, we didn't, because in the lead up to it, we knew the way that the media was going to portray things. We didn't want people's businesses to be affected before the event actually happened. Again, guilt by association, like we've previously covered. And they made sure that no NSN people were welcome or could speak or anything like that. He spoke about how they clearly dropped the ball down in New South Wales and Victoria. But again, I'm going to make the point too. The price of free speech is free speech. Guess what? Everyone's allowed to have their own ideas. You don't have to agree with them.
100%.
This bullshit about giving a platform to white supremacists. Not one person in the crowd was swayed to join the NSN by any of the speeches that were made. And I will say, the speech that was made in Victoria, because I listened to the whole one, it actually wasn't that bad. Like, the main guts of his speech was literally saying this: I know most of you disagree with my beliefs, but in times like these, you have to make friends. And we are both united on the fact that we have to end mass immigration. That's not that bad.
That's so hateful, Jason. That's so hateful.
Yeah, well, exactly, right? It must be. But literally, he wasn't trying to recruit members. He wasn't trying to be full-on racist or anything like that. He was literally saying, I know we disagree on things, but the one thing that we do agree on is the mass immigration is destroying the country and it needs to stop.
Mm.
But again...
And also, Terry, this is a big thing. Like, and I keep sort of posing this question. No one's come up with a good answer for me yet. Is name a time in history where suppressing information was a good thing.
Yeah, well, it's done by the good guys.
Just... Like,
doesn't exist.
You can listen to the ideas, and you don't have to like them.
Exactly. People.
But I'll give you the tip. I'll give you the tip. The allure of the feelings around something you have no knowledge of, that's powerful.
Mm-hmm. And
so if you want to start winding some people up, tell them they can't have something, and tell them how they're supposed to feel about it.
Yeah, exactly. And like I've said it before too, this whole ban on symbols and stuff like that, I'd rather them show it. I want to know where the Nazis are. I want to know where the Hamas people are.
I didn't get the clip. Can you tell the people what the clip said about the symbols?
Oh, yeah. So...
This is so good. This is so good.
This is about as government as it gets. So, actually, was it... I think it was after the exploding Jew van hoax, wasn't it? That they brought in the new laws against symbols of hate. That you're not allowed to display symbols of hate. So like Nazi signs or...
well, that's the only one.
Yeah, it's the main one, really.
Yeah.
It's the main one they care about. Anyway,
yep.
There was a cop being grilled in a Set inquiry about how symbols of hate were being shown at some of these marches. Now, not only the Australian march, but some of the like pro-Hamas and pro-Palestine marches. And the politician who was asking the questions was like, so has there been an investigation done into this pro-Palestinian march where this Hamas flag was being flown? And the cop was like, there's no evidence that a Hamas flag was being flown. And then the politician's like, here's a photo from the mainstream media of the Hamas flag being flown at this protest. And then the cop says, oh no, it was slightly modified, and therefore it doesn't actually fall under the purview of the laws. So if you just slightly modify your swastika, you're good to go, bruh.
Yeah, that was a joke I made with a friend, because we had this funny chat that we were talking about, or like this attack of communism and how we wanted to profit from it. So we wanted to get like t-shirts made up with, the Che Guevara, and let's make some Pol Pot ones while we're at it.
Yep.
And, and then I sent her that article. I was like, dude, this is going to make our t-shirt company like a lot of money. Because all you have to do is grab a swastika and just like turn on a little bit of angle.
Just slightly modify the image and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did think that was funny. All right, let's move on.
So what do you want to go to next?
We've only got... I mean, let's just touch on the German right-wing...
Yeah, just bring that story up, because...
I don't know much about... I've heard about this.
Yeah. This is pretty wild. So... Look, one thing that I will say is it is pretty clear that around the world, the political leaning that is seeking to control the people the most is the left side of politics. And any adversary to the incumbent leftist government is being painted as far-right extremist. We saw that with Donald Trump. We're seeing that in the UK. So the UK is going to be very interesting because they've got an election coming up soon, and a reform, which is essentially the UK's version of One Nation, looks on track to win, if that's allowed to happen. And Germany has elections coming up soon. And a very strange story appeared this week, where 6 candidates from Germany's right-wing AfD die weeks before election, sparking conspiracy theories. 6 members of Germany's right-wing AfD party have died within weeks of each other, sparking conspiracy theories despite assurances from authorities that no foul play was involved. The remarkable series of deaths in the western state of North Rhine-Westphalia, weeks before local council elections in Germany's most populous state, has sparked chaos and widespread speculation online. 4 AfD candidates died: Ralph Lang, Wolfgang Klinger, Wolfgang Seitz, and Stefan Berendes, requiring ballots to be reprinted ahead of the September 14 vote. It later emerged that 2 AfD reserve list candidates, René Herford and Patrick Tietze, also died. Now, there's been an update because another one's dead too, so it's 7 now. German police and the North Rhine-Westphalia Interior Ministry say there is no evidence of foul play in any case, with the cause of most of the deaths already determined. But the deaths...
Hold on. Just because they're determined doesn't mean that they're not sus.
Correct. But the deaths have nevertheless raised eyebrows. On Sunday, AfD leader Alice Weidel, shared a post on X from economist Stefan Homburg, a supporter of the party, describing the cluster as statistically almost impossible. 4 AfD candidates have died, Ms. Weidel wrote. US tech billionaire Elon Musk, who has endorsed the AfD's anti-immigration policies, amplified Professor Homburg's post, replying simply double exclamation mark. Either Germany votes AfD or it is the end of Germany, he also said. AfD Deputy Leader Stephen Brandner, a member of parliament from the state of Thuringia, told Politico's Berlin Playbook podcast on Tuesday it was statistically striking and difficult to explain at the moment. I've never heard of politicians from a party dying in such a short period of time before an election. Now, I have heard of this, because this also happened recently in Mexico, when about 30 people died just before they elected a Jewish chick to run the country, which is a really weird turn of events. However, Kay Gottschalk, AfD's deputy state leader in North Rhine-Westphalia, was more circumspect. What I have at the moment at least does not confirm these suspicions, he told Politico. Anyway, we don't need to read through much more of it. The whole point of the story is this. There's elections coming up, and 7 people who are in the right-wing party who was on track for victory because every country in the world is experiencing the same problems. Mass immigration and governments not listening to their people. Conor McGregor is running for president in Ireland, and he released a video this week talking about mass immigration being given welfare at the expense of Irish children. It's happening everywhere, guys.
Did you see the one from Ireland I sent you this morning?
No, what was that one?
You can get a free car in Ireland from the health service. 47% of all new cars in Ireland last year were given for free.
Mm-hmm.
If you had, even...
It's if you're on disability.
Munchausen by proxy.
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Yeah.
So, wild. Anyway.
Yeah, it's wild. So, look, just to touch on that story, I would say it is statistically impossible for 7 candidates from the same party to...
Unless they're all on the same plane.
Oh, yeah, if they're all on the same plane, I'd cop that. But within weeks of each other... And I think a lot of them, it's all being reported as heart attacks and strokes and such, which again is probably just a nod to the right wingers, because it's they'll just go, oh yeah, well, obviously the vaccines took them out, and then they'll just roll on with their days. But also, there are I posted the clip on the VK Bros this week on our Insta stories about, and it says when you forgot which glass you poisoned, and it's got Putin and Kim Jong-un cheersing champagne glasses, and then they both just awkwardly look at each other, and then they just both put the glasses down.
Hold on, speaking of which, I can't believe we were about to forget talking about this.
Yeah.
Dan Andrews.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell, man?
So, for those of you who aren't aware, China recently had a military celebration where they invited dignitaries from all over the world, and one of the invitees was Dan Andrews. So Dan Andrews, there's been a picture floating around the internet, an official photograph of him being pictured with such pundits of democracy as Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, and Kim Jong-un. All of Dictator Dan's best mates. Now, what's been very interesting about this for me is how the Dan Andrews and Labour bot army has immediately gone into effect from Victoria. There's the photo for everyone. To defend him being there. And they all keep saying things like he's a representative visiting who got an invitation from one of our key trading allies, blah, 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 blah. Guys, he's not in government anymore. He's not a representative of government. He is there in his private capacity because he has business relationships that he set up with the Chinese government using Victorian taxpayer money. So it was.
Now let me say something to try and bring this let me try to make this even more palatable.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in business and you're running specifically an online business, and you try to set up a bank account, you have to abide by certain frameworks in relation to anti-terrorism, anti-money laundering, and specifically not dealing with sanctioned countries.
Yep.
One of the sanctioned... Well, I actually think that all the sanctioned countries are represented in this photo.
Yeah.
So I'm not allowed to sell a T-shirt. I can't sell one of these Bitcoin Poker Tour hats to a Russian, yet Dan Andrews can go schmooze in China with the Poots and the Un.
Now,
you said it was in the capacity of a business deal. I can't do business with them.
Yeah, I know.
But he can.
And to make matters even better, we covered on the show just months before he announced his resignation from his premiership, he took a taxpayer-funded visit to China, which was unique because he deliberately brought no media personnel. So nothing of what he spoke about was ever reported in the media. And then since then, when he resigned from his premiership, he started a new consultation company, which then worked between his mate, Andrew Twiggy Forrest, and the Chinese government doing a deal to sell green iron ore to China. So, just to speak it plainly and clearly, Daniel Andrews used Victorian taxpayer money to fund trips to China, communist China, where he has essentially created business relationships which also benefited these Chinese businesses from Victorian taxpayer money, because don't forget, he signed up to the Belt and Road deal, even though it got vetoed by the federal government at the time. He still signed up to it. He was signing deals to get infrastructure built in Victoria using Chinese workers as well. So he used your taxpayer money to create business relationships in China, which he is now profiteering from in his capacity as a private citizen. He used your money to enrich himself and sold you out to the Chinese Communist Party.
Yeah, mad.
And they still want to build a statue of him.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to do this RFK bit?
You know what? Let's leave that for next week. I think we've gone through enough heavy stuff. We've gone on probably a little bit long enough. I just want to say, just to reiterate the start of the show, get your mind right. Be the hero of your own movie. No one's coming to save you. The politicians are not coming to save you. You can only save yourself. So pull your nutsack out. Get in a time machine. Go back to like mid-1990s Australia when we were all just a bunch of tough larrikins, laughed about everything, got along with everyone, but when the going went tough, the tough got going. You're not a victim. Pull your finger out. Make it happen. Let's go.
Just go watch the old movies and it'll get you all jacked up.
Yeah, go and watch Dragon Ball Z and understand that everything can be...
Yeah, beat your kid. If your kid's step out of line, he's not training hard enough.
No, you don't beat your kid. You give your kid to an immigrant like Piccolo to raise, who will beat your kid for you. And on that note, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see y'all next week.